Ladies and gents, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy, Battlefield 5 again today because there's no hot, fresh new games out that really fit with the channel, so we'll look to fix that when possible. But before we get into today's topic, some of you may have noticed that a couple of days ago, we lost our daily upload streak, which was genuinely very sad and disappointing for me, and I ended up getting the video out instead yesterday due to capture card issues. So, now I have a new capture card, but I'm not sure I have all the settings set up optimally, so please help me out and let me know how the video looks in the comments today. Better, worse, or the same as before. I'd really genuinely appreciate it, thank you. But to today's topic, I've pulled together footage of some guns that have been called overpowered, toxic, or noob guns at some point in the last 15 months of Battlefield 5's existence. Because we're going to talk about weapon shaming and toxicity in the game. This is something I talked about in Battlefield 1 also, and likely something I could dive into for just about any multiplayer FPS game out there, unfortunately. There are always people that complain about guns being too good or noob friendly or whatever in games, but it's not really about the guns being good or bad. Of course, there are metas. Of course, some guns are good, some guns are bad at different times. Some things aren't balanced properly. Yep, looking at you right now, Battlefield 5. But that's not the point. What I'm really focusing on is the hate that some people get for just using these guns, for just enjoying the game that they paid for or had bought for them. Because I'm sure a lot of you are aware. You can let me know in the comments as well. Also, let me know if you're guilty of this, if you rage out and do the same thing. So many people call other people out just for what they like to use in a video game, for something that's coded into the game that they're playing that they just want to have a good time on, or excel at perhaps. And I take issue with this because the guns are in the game to be used. Whether they're good, bad, weird, indifferent, otherwise, whatever they identify as, you can use them. Because I don't think it's up to the player to balance the game. In fact, I know it's not. You have no impact on that really. It's on the developers to balance the product that they put out. And I'm not saying perfectly balance it, that's impossible. But whether it's a little bit imbalanced or wildly unbalanced, that doesn't fall on the player to regulate. And it shouldn't stop people from using certain things unless they just don't want to, unless they just don't want to play into the problem. But otherwise, you can pick what you want, and so can everyone else. And if you want to dislike the video because that's my opinion, then that's up to you, but I'm going to stand by this. Because it's the same premise for all of life. You can do what you want to do as long as it doesn't negatively impact someone else. And no, I don't think using a certain weapon in a game counts as negatively impacting on someone else's life. Yes, it can be frustrating, annoying, whatever, but it's a video game. Think of it like in sports, where you do anything within the rule sets and it's fine. And if something is just egregious, then a new rule is made. But otherwise, use everything you can to your advantage that is within the rules. A game doesn't need to be any different. In fact, it shouldn't be. Especially when we have esports now, the gap is closing. And it's also not up to the players to reduce their fun for your benefit. And I'm not directly calling you out. You might be watching and fully agreeing with me, or maybe sometimes you're guilty of it, or perhaps you are someone that's always guilty of it. Just try to listen to what I'm saying logically, remove the bias, and we can all improve in certain ways. People can play how they like to play. You don't always have to respect it, but that doesn't mean you have to abuse them as well. The optimal scenario, of course, is using something they enjoy, something they're effective with, and are helping the team. I would say there is room to criticize someone that isn't actually helping in a team-based game, not in an abusive manner, but just having it pointed out. Sitting in that corner for 8 minutes for no reason every time you play isn't exactly beneficial. Here's what you can do instead, or just saying, hey, would you mind not camping? I can't really criticize that. But beyond that, I have a problem. Now, this doesn't mean you can't be frustrated by the guns that are unbalanced, the overall balance of the game, all that kind of stuff. I'm personally frustrated about the current balance of the game as well, but I don't take it out on the players. At least not seriously. When MMGs were really overpowered, for example, it was incredibly annoying to get killed by MMGs all the time from every angle. Yes, sometimes I would rage briefly at the person using the MMG, but it wasn't serious, it would pass quickly, it's not really their fault, and they were only using the weapon in the way it was designed. Was it cringeworthy seeing 10 people lined up on a hill with MMGs? Yes. Did there really need to be that many people there doing it? No. But it's a game. And you can look at it on the flip side. When people did that on the other team, you could just try to take advantage. 2 people lying on the hill with MMGs, irritating and effective. 10 people, not that much more effective, I would imagine. And so they're only hurting themselves. But yes, the point is, don't take it out on the players, okay? And do you know why you shouldn't do that? Because you can be wrong. Because not all guns that are called overpowered are actually overpowered. The Type 2A out at the minute, yes, is too strong. Yes, this needs to be altered, but as I have kept saying, it's not quite as overpowered as a lot of people think it is. But besides that, it's a popular choice at the minute, people like it, there's no shame in using it. And it's going to get nerfed anyway. Yeah, I promise you, it's going to get nerfed. Also, not all players that people call noobs are actually noobs. It's a term that's thrown around. Again, it means new player, or as I see it, less able player. But sometimes, from your perspective, you might think someone's a noob for doing something, but you have no idea. They might be way better than you, but also it doesn't really matter if they're not better than you. Just chill your beans, okay? Chill them. Get those beans, put them in a bag, in the refrigerator, chill them out. And beans can maybe, you're going to take that as being your, if you're male, your undercarriage, your floppy swingers, so get them in the fridge as well. I don't really know where I pulled that one out from, what I'm doing with that, but do it, let me know how it goes. Also, from a personal perspective, I get called out for using the perceived top weapons in my videos sometimes. And do you know why that's laughable? Because one, there's nothing wrong with it, and two, nobody mentions when I use the low meta guns in my videos. That just kind of gets ignored. Maybe it's the first time someone's seen my video and they're like, oh, you're using the STG, that's lame. It's like, well, yeah, but in the previous video, I was using a semi-auto rifle, which at the minute isn't meta at all. You gotta look at the wider picture, the wider perspective. So my advice would be stop sending angry messages on Xbox Live or typing in the chat if you're on PC or whatever. It's cringeworthy, it's unnecessary. It probably doesn't help to change the mind of the person you're complaining at. And trust me, for 99% of players, raging out and getting angry does not help you. It doesn't help your play, and also it stops you from taking ownership of your own mistakes. If you're just gonna blame it on, well, that person killed me because they're using the Type 2A, or when the game first came out because they're using the K7 or whatever, or the ZH29, which isn't overpowered at all, but regardless. Blaming everything on that removes you from the perspective of going, okay, what did I do wrong? Because if they're using the Type 2A and you're using the Suomi, then losing that 1v1 gunfight really doesn't come down to them using the Type 2A, alright? Or if they beat you with the Type 2A and you're using the grease gun, and they beat you in close quarters, well, you put yourself in the wrong spot. Now, yes, it is too easy to use things like the Type 2A from range at the minute because of the massively reduced recoil, but still, you can easily outrange them if you just go a little further back and use something like the aforementioned grease gun. Play to your weapon's strengths, okay? Be mad at the gun that killed you if you want, but not the player, and try to look at what you could have done better. You will improve as a player if you do that more often. It's about your mindset. I try to do it as often as I can. I don't always succeed, I promise you, but when I can, I say, oh, good shot, or oh, I got that wrong, or oh, well, just sucks to be me. Now again, to reiterate, you do not have to have the utmost respect for the achievements of someone using a clearly overpowered weapon or whatever to progress in the game when compared with someone doing the same with a gun that is perhaps more specialized or isn't super overpowered or overused or whatever. But it's just a game, and also you don't have to hate them or anything like that. It doesn't mean they can't play the game, it doesn't mean they don't necessarily have any ability, they're just using the gun they want to use. Maybe it's their first time using it, maybe they use it all the time, so what, relax. And getting comments like, you're too good for that gun, I just find laughable and asinine. And then also getting comments like, noob gun user, you suck, get good. Everyone always thinks saying get good is really clever, by the way, because my name's GetGoodGuy. It's not. You don't go around doing that. It doesn't make you look clever. If you want a quick explanation, I called myself GetGoodGuy, at least partially, because of the double entendre, if that's an appropriate term for use for it, because it can mean I help you to get good when I know something, but also it can mean I need to get good when I don't know something, alright? So it's not clever. Regardless, back to the point. That kind of comment, really laughable as well. Now there are benefits to using a vast array of weapons, of course. You can expand your playbook, you can learn the guns, you can learn how to play with them and counter them, and you can make the most of the game that you purchased, but you don't have to. And remember, some people really just connect with some guns, good or bad. It could be the performance of the weapon, the aesthetics of the weapon, the sound, the history, anything. And also, attack onto the end of this, people like to criticize people using auto-rotation. My point again is it's in the game. No, I don't like it being in the game, but for a level playing field, it has to be reduced or removed. Trying to shame people into not using it when they're coming up against people who are using it, and perhaps they find it beneficial, isn't fair. Now, if you want to turn it off because you don't find it beneficial, because you find it drags you onto the wrong target and stuff, then absolutely do that. And I also feel for you in those situations where you don't have it because of that, but someone does, and then they use it against you and they benefit from it. I just think it's a bad mechanic, it didn't need adding. But regardless, my ending point, and I said this in my BF1 video about this, I've said it between then and now as well, I can't remember where I first saw it, but use what you want, don't apologize. Please keep that in mind. And so I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about about it in the comments today, whether you agree or disagree and why, but please be logical and respectful to me and everyone else down there. We can have a good discussion even if we disagree. And if you did like the video, please hit the like button for me, it means a lot. Subscribe if you're new here, of course. I've got so much content coming out at the minute, as my long-term subscribers can attest to. And all the links to my social media, including Patreon, can be found in the description and my pinned comment. Here is the Board of Awesome for the epic people who already support me on Patreon. They're all absolute heroes and I love them all deeply and of course often. If you want to join them on the Board of Awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and my pinned comment. And with that all said, I'm GetGoodGuy and I will see you next time. Laters. Well, the game doesn't really tell you much at all. Battlefield is a very complex game, undeniably. There are a lot of factors involved, a lot of mechanics, a lot of things that people aren't used to in other games. And that's part of what makes it very difficult to balance as well. If we compare Battlefield with the simplicity of, say, Call of Duty,